Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another one of our podcasts on the project. Um, got a fairly quiet week this week, and we haven't got a midweek game, so we're going to start having a little look at a few different things over the course of the next few weeks as the season starts to draw to its climax. It's St Patrick's Day, so happy Paddy's Day to everyone out there. If you, whether you're Irish or not, happy Paddy's Day. I've got my little shamrock there. Look, see. So Irish family. A lot of us have in Brum, haven't we? So a lot of Irish connections. So happy Paddy's Day. There's a big event here on Sunday. It's absolutely massive. I mean, Cabaret is only a small place, and we get like 30,000 visitors here on Paddy's Day. It's the busiest day of the year, including all the summer. So quite a thing. But I actually don't go in for that sort of thing. I don't like huge crowds, and it just ain't my thing. But whatever. So welcome. I said 17th of March, season starting to wind down to its conclusion. 8 games left. I'm just going to have a little look around the way that we usually do and see if there's anyone around that wants to come and speak. It would be really good if you're there, of course. I'm sure you will be today. Um, all right, we'll give it a few minutes. Yeah, so we're going to start today by having a look at our goalkeepers. And over the course of the next week or so, we're going to look at different players. We're going to look at what we think the squad might need. We're going to see what, the chances are we're probably going to be in the Championship next season, although, never say never. But you have to be realistic about these things. And we'll have a little think about what might be needed. Do we need any influx of new players? Have we got players that we need? What do we think about the signings that we've made prior to this? And during the season and in the close season and the January ones. So the January influx of players was quite a big one, but it's odd that well, it's not odd. Um, it's like we usually do. We go abroad, we buy players that probably haven't played in the English league before. A lot of people have said that it's a poor thing to do. What you have to remember is that our the way that we recruit isn't down to, as most people think, solely to the manager. It isn't like that at all. We have a recruitment team. We have software that identifies targets. It's a plan that the club uses, and it's how it is. That's how it is, and that's how it's going to be. It was put in place by Tom Wagner, and Tom's the boss. So we can look at the close season, the summer signings, and make some kind of comment about those and see what we think about them, and see what we think about the January ones. Personally, I think it's been pretty difficult, a pretty difficult season in a lot of ways for the manager. And I know a lot of people, critical of him, which is fine. Everyone's got an opinion, providing it doesn't get out of order, as we know. But criticism is one thing, but then when you criticise a manager for things like signings and that, get your head straight, because it isn't Chris Davis that makes signings. Yes, he has input, but the way that we recruit isn't decided by Chris Davis. It's decided by the club and by the system that we use for recruitment, which is put in place by Tom Wagner and the management. So, come and say hello to me. Looking a little bit quiet at the moment. I mean, we've got one person there, so we're going to just hang around for a few moments. We've got Paul James has come on. Are you Paul? Yeah, I'll come on a bit early, Paul. So we're not due to be on for another few minutes. So no problem. Nice to see you here. As I was just explaining to myself, we're going to have a little look at the squad that we have at the moment, possible recruitment for the coming season, a little bit of analysis of what we have, what do we need, who do we think is going to be here next year. There's speculation about some players already, although I do think it's bullshit myself. What was last season's recruitment like, and the recruitment policy that we have, which is done by a mixture of software and identifying players from something like 40 odd countries, and then whittling it down to the kind of players that we're looking for and the kind of money that we want to spend. So you have to always remember that recruiting the way we do, although you might think we spend a lot of money, it's actually a quite a cheap way of recruiting, because you're signing players that people have never heard of on the whole. And some of our loan business has been really good. Although I was just saying, wasn't I, a few seconds ago, that the actual summer window, I don't think did Chris Davis an awful lot of good. I think it was a tough window for him. The recruitment, although it was okay, left us short in a few ways. I think we were left short in terms of experience. We were left short in terms of physicality as well, I think. Paul's just come on and said, I've filled that form of Beck's last night, by the way. Yeah. So at the moment, in case you don't know what that is, we're doing some, as you know, we have a CIC and we're working within the community, sharing what we can and getting people what we can. And we're offering some free exercise and mobility classes. They're probably going to be online. We're being helped by Sport England. So we have actually sent a little questionnaire out. So if you can have a look at it, fill it in and send it back to us. It's all free. It doesn't take any of your personal details, anything like that. It's a very, very broad form. But have a look at it, and if you can send it in and help us to get this particular project underway, then we'll be absolutely delighted. Thank you. Graham Parrish is here. How you doing, Gray? I hope you're all right, mate. Yeah. So where do we start really with looking at the squad? And obviously the obvious place to start is with the goalkeepers. There's been an awful lot of, umming and ahhing and speculation about goalkeepers, and you have to say, and I've said it 100 times this season, I'll say it again, James Beadle's coming for an awful lot of stick that he doesn't deserve. I'll give you an example of something I seen this morning when I went to work. I'm in work dead early, so I got onto Facebook and had a look, and there was a photo of the goal that Sheffield United scored on Saturday. Yeah. So that long ball that split the two centre halves, and he sort of ran off to the left going into the Tilton, and I forget who scored it now. Who was it? Tell me, Paul. You'll know. The ball was running wide. James Beadle came off his line, and as the player shot, Beadle sort of spread himself out, And there's this photo. It was a really good photo, actually. It was Beadle completely spread out in a star, and Bamford Bamford just about. I think he might have just struck the ball or just about to strike the ball to have a go at goal, And the comment someone puts on is, what's that clown Beadle doing a star jump for? Now that to me sums up, it tells you a lot about that person that's made that comment. I mean, number one, obviously, he's of the opinion that James Beadle didn't play well on that day. Fair enough. You have your opinion, of course. He was man of the match for me for Blues. Number two, you have an unfounded hatred for him. I don't know why people wouldn't like this young lad. I mean, he's done nothing other than come on loan to us as an England international, um, play for us. You know, play in the first team at the selection of the manager, no one else. And for some reason, everyone hates him. Well, we know why everyone hates him, because Ryan Allsop lost his place to him. It's as simple as that. And you can make whatever comments you like about a player's ability. You know, by all means, say, you know, in your opinion, and a lot of people have said it, you know, that Ryan Allsop is much better with the long ball, and you know, Beadle's not so good with his feet and all that sort of stuff. But I was just looking at some interesting figures actually a few minutes ago, statistics, and Beadle actually is more accurate with long balls than Ryan Allsop is. You know, I mean, it surprised me. I didn't think he was, but you can't argue with statistics. Statistics don't make a good or a bad goalkeeper or a good or a bad player. Obviously, they don't. But they are there to be looked at, and it's obvious that James Beadle's a very, very talented young goalkeeper, and I'm pretty sure that he's going to be playing for England one day. And you know, he's been in goal for us all season. He's been really, really solid, and he's. I think the statistics showed that Beadle's actually been responsible. An error led to one goal that Beadle's conceded this season. So, you know, and Allsop didn't have any errors that led to a conceded goal. So, you know, when I look at the goalkeeping situation, I think, honestly, we need two goalkeepers next season. I think James Beadle would probably go back to Brighton. I don't know what the situation is with Brighton either, whether they want to sell him or what. They also have a goalkeeper on loan at Coventry as well, that young lad there, another really good goalkeeper. So I don't know what Brighton's plans are. I don't know if it would be a wise move for us to try and buy James Beadle, or if James Beadle would want to come because of the crowd reaction to him. And it's really sad when that affects a club's buying of a player. But it probably, for me, I don't know if there's any way back for James Beadle in terms of long term or his longevity at the Blues, because there's a certain amount of people that are always going to be on his back for no reason other than it's him. So, you know, but then you have to look at both keepers. And of course, we've got Brad Mayo as well. Now, the interesting thing with Brad Mayo is Brad's only 21 as well, the same as James Beadle. You know, and there's a huge difference between them. Beadle has played, I don't know, blimey, 70 odd EFL games, and obviously Brad Mayo, I think, has played 4 or 5. The same age, those two goalkeepers, both 21. Ryan Allsop is 33. Whilst it's not particularly old for a goalkeeper, I think that we need probably to get 2 new keepers. I think would be better. Allsop isn't great on static saves. He's fairly good in the air. His long ball is very, very good. You know, he's sort of sweeper keeper. He's good at it, and I like them both. For me, I'm not going to be heartbroken if either of them starts a game. The history of it was, and we all remember it, although some people will pretend they don't know, but Allsop had 3 or 4 dodgy games, and Beadle came in and he played well and he didn't lose his place. You know, and then Beadle got injured, and then Allsop came in, and then when Allsop got dropped again, it was Beadle's fault. You know, and it isn't Beadle's fault. It's the manager. It's the manager that picks the team, not Beadle. Because of course the manager is someone else we can look at, and people have been pretty critical of. It sort of generalises it. This does. When I say they've been critical of Chris Davis, I don't think the majority of our supporters aren't critical of Chris Davis. It's a few noisy ones, and you get the odd ones that write pieces, you know, in articles and that, and they tell you that the manager's leaving in 2 days, and you'll see, you know, Monday morning he'll be gone, and we know this, and then you don't hear from them for 6 months, and then when Blues have a few bad results again, they're back. you know, telling you how bad it all is. When we don't need people to tell us this, we can watch ourselves and make our own minds up. You don't need to be led by the nose by anyone. Just say what you think. And if you know, it's like people making comments in here about individual players. If you know, if you want to make abusive comments, then you know, you're gone. If you want to discuss the football and the players, that's fine. And remember, don't get confused with facts and opinions, will you? How you doing, Lee Harvey? I hope you're all right, mate. Dave Pegg's on as well. So I don't know what your opinion of the goalkeepers are. You know, I think both of them are pretty good. Emily Mould on. How you doing, Em? We're just having a little chat about the keepers. Ian Witherington. Beadle saves us from the loss. Saved us from the loss with his save. He did. Both saves actually. I mean, the penalty. Although it wasn't a very good penalty, but it's hard for any keeper to save a penalty, and he got down. You know. But the header from Bamford, that was a goal all day long, you know, and he got down, and he's a big lad to get down like that, you know. I thought it was an absolutely magical save, and it's saves like that you know, show you what he's going to be in the future. He's 21, but I don't know if it's worth us, you know, looking at trying to buy him. I'd be interested in knowing what your thoughts are on that. Or would you keep Ryan Alsop next season? Like I said, we have got two 21-year-old goalkeepers as well. We've got Brad Mayo, but I don't know. You know, he's only played like about 12 games, something like that, for the under 21s this season. You know, in the Premier League 2 or whatever it's called. And I mean, they haven't had particularly good results, but I haven't watched Brad Mayo enough to be able to give an honest opinion of him. But the fact that he's still with us, you know, must tell you something. Or would we be looking at perhaps sending Brad out next season on loan, or buy a new number one and have Brad Mayo as the number two? Ian Witherington saying not much between the two keepers. In my opinion, yeah, I'm of the same opinion as you, Ian. I am. I'm never upset if I see Alsop between the sticks and Beadle not playing, and I'm never upset if I see it the other way around. You know, you have to say James Beadle's a young goalkeeper, so he's still learning his trade. I think early in the season, at times, he was a little bit hesitant about when to come and when not to come. I think sometimes, but it's like a lot of keepers in today's game, particularly if you're an older supporter like me, you'd rather see a goalkeeper try and take the ball with both hands rather than punch it. I think that's just a statistic that has changed over the years. Goalkeepers are taught to punch now, you know. And of course, keepers have to be so much better with their feet now, don't they? And Beadle isn't too bad with his feet. I think the game that upset everyone about Beadle with his feet was the home game when it pissed down. It was a Middlesbrough game, and we were pressed to death. And the centre-halves made life extremely difficult for Beadle that night, to be fair. Emily Mould is saying that both have strengths valuable to the team, yeah. But having said that, I don't think they're the two keepers for next season. I don't think we should go down that road. I think what we need to have is an established number one goalkeeper and a second goalkeeper. This, like, it almost causes friction to have two goalkeepers and neither of them is the number one, although it promotes competition. When you switch goalkeepers like that all the time, and I think it's one of our big failings this season, and not many people have picked up on it, but this is my opinion, is that we haven't had a steady enough back four and goalkeeper. Had we had, for instance, you know, just had Ryan Alsop been in goal all season, and the two centre halves in front of him were Robinson and Clara, then you've got that little spine of three central people in the middle of the goal. who communicate well with each other, who are used to playing with each other. But when you've got like, and it isn't a constant change of goalkeeper, but it's fairly regular. I think Allsop's played 15 games. I think Beadle's played 25 or 27 or something. So obviously Beadle's played the majority of the games. But add to that the fact that we've probably had 7 or 8 centre-back partnerships this season, then I think that adds to the issues that we've had. And I think although people are complaining about, not enough goals, we don't get the ball forward fast enough, blah, 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 I think one of our biggest issues this season is that we've had an unsettled back four. Dave Pegg is saying, it'd be interesting to see Mayo's development. He's been included in the squad to get the experience of the atmosphere. I would try and keep Beadle and let Allsop go and try and get another keeper. Whether that keeper is going to be first choice is another question. Well, I think there's a couple of things to add to that, Dave. I don't think now that James Beadle is going to want to be a number 2 goalkeeper. He just isn't. He's going to be 22 next season. He's going to start getting to the age where he's going to be competing for a place in the England team. He wants to be up there, So I think whoever James Beadle plays for next season, he's going to want to be the number 1 goalkeeper. And secondly, I don't know if it's a great idea for James Beadle to stay here, because straight away, James Beadle only has to look in the wrong direction and the fans are on his back. I gave an instance of it earlier, about people just making really nasty comments about the lad for no reason at all. Anyone making nasty comments about James Beadle or negative comments about him for his appearance or his display against Sheffield United, they don't understand football at all if they think he had a bad game. M saying Allsop extended his contract just in November until 2028 as well. Yeah, he's not being used much. Maybe Beadle will be heading back and Allsop back in, who knows. I think I wasn't aware that Allsop had extended his contract actually, so thank you for that. But I think if Brian Allsop stays, he will be staying as a number 2, in my opinion. James Beadle, if he stays, will stay as a number 1, I think. But I think we need to go out and get a new number 1. That's my opinion. Lee Harvey saying, I would definitely give Kyogo last chance saloon. Well, I wanted to talk today, Lee, mainly about like the goalkeepers and perhaps the defenders around him. We're going to look all the way through the team over the course of the next few weeks, and as the season progresses, then we can narrow things down a little bit when we know where we could. I mean, we don't know what league we're going to be in next season. Pretty much looks like we're going to be in the Championship again. So we're going to have to cut our cloth accordingly and pick our players accordingly. And the thing I mentioned earlier on, I think when I was on my own, is, we have to look at the recruitment model. I don't know what your opinions are of that. What does everyone think about the recruitment in the summer? It would be interesting to get your opinion on it, and I'll tell you mine. I'll just repeat what I said earlier. A lot of people have been critical about Chris Davies for the summer recruitment, for starters, and I can't believe, people make comments about the signings in the summer and don't really know how we recruit, who put the recruitment process in place, what's Chris Davies's part in it, what's Gary Gardner, what's Gardner's Craig Gardner's role regarding it. Don't forget, other people are involved in it as well, Mike Rigg, for instance. So for me, when you're commenting on the recruitment, if you don't know how it's done, then don't be critical of it, because unless you know how it's done, you don't know who to criticise. So I think in terms of Chris Davis and the summer recruitment, I think he was dealt a pretty bad hand, to be honest. I don't think the summer recruitment was that good. Lee saying way off par, championship not for him. Well, we're going to talk about the strikers, like as time goes on. Priska, just quickly, wasn't really bought for this season. Had they waited for Priska to sign him in the summer or next season, it would have cost them probably twice what we paid for him. That's how highly rated he is. He's a young lad. I think the future is him and Stansfield, but who knows? We all have our. I wouldn't personally, like any of the new signings, I'm not going to be making opinions on them just yet. They've only played 6, 7. I mean, Priska's played 4 games, I think. You can't honestly, judge a player who's come from another country into the heat of a championship promotion challenge and just throw them away like that. I wouldn't do that. Dave Pegg saying some recruitment was poor. General recruitment was better. We are still evolving, and I think that the recruitment process is part of that. I think you're right. I do think you're right, Dave. But if we're going to recruit the way we did in the summer and we did in the winter, then we have to make allowances for the fact that players from foreign countries of different ages have to be given a chance to settle in. They're not going to come in and hit the ground running, and we've seen that. Ian saying Brighton loaned him out to gain experience with us. That's the whole purpose of the loan, as they can access him and develop him. Yeah, of course it is. That's what loans are for. But loans also sometimes result in the player being signed permanently by the team they go to. There's a two-way. Loans work on a two-way process. They help the player. They help with the cost of the player to the parent club, and they help the loaning club, because obviously they're getting a quality player, hopefully. Lee saying, just my view, Steve, I would get rid of him, bring in a top name in the summer. I mean, it's a pretty big statement, Lee, but I think what is a top name? It depends what you mean by that, really. I mean, a good striker with championship experience. Well, there's been a lot said about that as well. I mean, you can look at. I've heard lots of people, and I don't like talking about Wrexham, but we're gonna have to speak about Wrexham because I've heard a lot of people talking, and like comparing us to Wrexham's recruitment. I wouldn't want Wrexham's recruitment in a million years. They bought some tried out championship players, yeah. But I think it's been pointed out by quite a few people that if Wrexham were to get promoted, they would have to have a complete clear out of that team, unless they wanted to be down by Halloween, as I've said a few times before. And I'm sure I'm going to get you to say, well, like so and so, he played, but you didn't recognise one of our players, and you might think that's a good thing or a bad thing. Personally, I'm quite excited by the recruitment process that we have. Anyone can go out and buy a player that's already played in the championship for a few years. He's 30 years old. We're not the youngest team in the world, but this winter's recruitment has shown that we are beginning to sign a younger squad to look towards next season. So we can look at goalkeepers, and goalkeepers aren't all. I mean, you don't have to worry particularly about getting a young goalkeeper. Like 30 for a goalkeeper is all right. Someone that's probably had the good thing about that, and I agree with Lee in that sense, is I think with a goalkeeper it's good to have some experience, not necessarily championship experience, but just generally good experience. And he's been a good keeper. With the way we recruit people, and obviously the goalkeeping recruitment hasn't touched on this, but we tend to go abroad. So if you look at all the signings that we make, very few of them come from other uh, English or British clubs unless they're on loans. Um, we've had a few Koreans, a few Japanese players. The Japanese players, except for Iwata, haven't really hit it off with us. Um, it's funny how that we have, it weren't that long ago when people were sort of slating Kyogo. He's got to go now, that's it, he's finished, that's it. And then we have a spell when we don't play brilliantly and people are saying, get Kyogo in, what's the matter with him, It's just like knee-jerk reaction to players according to, if they haven't played for 3 months, suddenly it's like a new player. Well, it isn't. It's the same player that was there that missed all those chances early in the season and probably cost us 15 points. And I'm not exaggerating. You give Kyogo 6 goals and look at the points he would have had. He's been a bit unfortunate. The one against Ipswich was a goal, in my opinion. He has been a bit unfortunate, but he's missed some really good chances. Dave Pegg, if we go back to today's conversation about keepers, which we will, and defence, my concern now is the left back position. Lee has had a setback that we hoped wouldn't happen. We have cover at right back and both centre half positions. Well, I mean, we've got cover at left back, we've got Kai Wagner, and we've got Cochrane. When you say Buchanan's had a setback, it doesn't mean like he's broken his leg or something. I was explaining it yesterday that when a player's been out for so long, particularly with a knee injury like that, they have to be careful in terms of muscle reactions to like bursts of speed or stuff like that. The muscles haven't been used in the way that they used to be used for a long time, so you often get little muscle contractions that don't particularly respond in a way you expect them to. It's a part and parcel of recovering from injury, and not everyone has a completely issue-free recovery. We are good at that. Our physios and our sports science team are really, really good, and we don't usually have setbacks during recoveries, but it happens. Lee's saying every transfer window baffles me with Blues. Ewan's saying I think we will buy a new keeper in the summer. I think so as well, Ian. I don't know what you mean, Lee, when you say it baffles you. I mean, do you mean that you don't know the players? I don't know the majority of players that signed for us last summer or the summer before, to be honest. Who'd ever heard of name any 3 or 4 of the players that we signed when we came down from the Championship? You haven't heard of them, have you? So it's like, it's quite exciting in a way, but then if it doesn't work out, then you're hung out to dry. The crazy thing is Blues don't go for top players like Vardy. Well, I wouldn't, mate, honestly. I can't. I mean, Vardy, I wouldn't want Vardy in a million years. Never bothers online. Never bothers Oxlade. Never bothered. Well, both of them have done nothing, mate, have they? What's Vardy done since last season? What's Oxlade Chamberlain done? I mean, and these are players that we haven't even looked at because we're not interested in them. They're purely put out there by people that are trying to, get you to click their website. I'd be very disappointed if the quality of player we were going for in the close season are old players like Vardy and Oxlade Chamberlain. I really would. We need to be looking at players that we've made some good signings. Don't forget, Clara has been an extremely good signing, hasn't he? Iwata has been a brilliant signing. Ethan Laird has been a fabulous signing. Cochrane's been a good signing. Paddy Roberts has been brilliant. We can keep going, can't we? Dimmy has been like the best signing of the summer. We can keep going. We can name some ones that haven't been so good, but we have bought some really, really good footballers. Experience brings a lot to the team. Players like that. I don't know. There's sort of players we need to get out of this league. Well, I mean, all I can say is look what Vardy's done this season, and he hasn't got anyone out of any league. But it doesn't matter. I'm not talking about him specifically. I mean, we have to. Well, we're discussing it, aren't we? Dave Peggy's saying we had never heard of Kai Wagner. We hadn't until genuine people were asking why we had signed a left back from USA. He had a great start. The thing, and I've seen a few people say that, like Wagner had a great start, what's happened to him as the football being coached out of him. I mean, what a stupid thing to say. Yeah, listen, you're too good, right? We're going to try and coach you down a little bit, all right? We don't want you to be as good as you are. That's just bullshit. They come into the team, they come in at 100 miles an hour, and then something that they're not used to is playing the amount of football that we play. So for a couple of games, they're great. They're full of, they're full of verve. They're lively. They're fit. But then when they hit 3-4 games in, 5 weeks, they're not used to that volume of football. Particularly Germans and Americans. I mean, they're just not used to that. And when you ask them to play those extra games, it just destroys them a little bit, really. Dave's saying we had never heard of Kai. I've just done that one, mate. Lee Harvey, that's one player out of how many I do like Wagner. So, Lee, you don't like Ethan Laird. You don't like Christopher Clara. You don't like Cochrane. You don't like Lee Buchanan. You don't like Patrick Roberts. You don't like Dimmy. You don't like Doyle. You don't like John Solis. I'm not going to say Pate because he was already here. You don't like Iwata. You don't like, I know you don't like Priska. You don't like Vicente. You don't like Osman. Shall I carry on? I reckon the duck be gone in summer. Well, as this is like this fucking mad rumour that's going around at the moment. There's 3 teams interested in. Well, no one's named who the 3 teams are. It's just these rumours that people come out. But to be honest with you, I was having this conversation with Pete Hanna earlier. Pete Hannon. I mean, why would anyone be hunting ducks down? I mean, it's not like he's had a fabulous start to his career at Blues. If you look through his numbers, I mean, he's all right. He goes missing for huge amounts of games. He scored 10 goals, which is great, but he just goes missing a lot, doesn't he? He's not a physical footballer. He can't. He finds the pace of English football difficult to cope with. You can't argue with him when he has games like he had on Saturday, but then he'll have 3 games when you don't know if he's playing or not. For me, listen, it could be worse, couldn't it? I mean, if Dutch went, okay, and we make money out of it, fine. It's when players like Stansfield go, or Damari Gray go, or players like that, then you worry about losing players. I mean, Dux has been a squad player, and I'm not having to go at Dux, but I think my opinion has always been about Marvin Dux, that he goes missing too much. That's my opinion. I know a lot of people feel the same way. You can't argue with the fact that when he does have a good game, he has a good game. I mean, he played really well on Saturday. He scored 1 goal. He did play well. He had one of his better games, but the 3 games prior to that, you don't see him, and you can't afford to have that. You can't afford to have that. I think next season we have to aim at having a fairly steady squad, and I think the building blocks for that squad. Well, to start with, we have to look at who we think we're going to keep and who we're not. And if you look, in terms of defenders, I think the club have to decide you know, I think Ethan Laird's going to be our starting right back, and then you have to decide. Okay, then so how about Asai Samuel, stick or twist, squad player or not? How about Iwata? You know, is Iwata going to be? Is he going to get into that midfield somewhere? Because if he's not first choice right back, is he going to be happy? You know, probably not playing. Then you got the centre half issue. You got to look at Phil Neumann, haven't you? And think, you know, Phil Neumann came in on a big fanfare and he really hasn't delivered. I mean, he's been all right, but that wasn't what we were expecting. You know, because we signed him in the January to make sure we got him in the. He was there in the summer on a pre-contract. I was expecting someone to come in, you know, who was absolutely oven ready for us, you know, and he just wasn't. He struggles with the amount of games that we play. His passing is poor. He's all right in the air. I just don't think he reads a game that well. He's all right, you know. We've had worse centre halves, but we've had much better ones. And I think, like Christopher Clara, is going to be with us next season. That I think is absolutely 110%. And you have to have someone alongside Clara who's a footballer, and alongside Clara, he has to be a left-footed centre half. This is the reason we went out and got Panzo. It's the reason that we bought Jack Robinson. Now, Jack Robinson, I think, going into next season is going to be a little bit on the old side for us to, you know, look at him as being the new left-sided centre half. I don't think Jonathan Panzo, unless for the next 8 games, shows us exactly what he can do, because I'm unconvinced with Jonathan Panzo at the moment. So I think a left-sided centre half is an absolute definite, and we have to get a good one. We have to get one, and I'd agree, like, you know, perhaps Lee there, what he was saying about strikers or whatever. I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to get a good centre half that's experienced and knows English football. I think that's important alongside Clara. And if you're looking at the left backs, we have actually got a lot of left backs, haven't we? We have got Cochrane, we've got Buchanan, and we've got Wagner. So I think Wagner is the starting left back, and then the other 2 are there to win the place. But do we need 3 left backs? You know, probably not. Which one would we go? Would we let go? Dave Pegg, I think Neumann. We didn't realise how good Clara was going to be. Neumann wasn't for a minute bought to replace Clara. I just think that they thought, you know, Clara would comfortably play left-sided centre half. They've obviously had the conversation with him, and yeah, he will play it. But I think it affects Clara's game too much to have Neumann playing on the right and him on the left. We lose a lot of quality from Clara when he plays on the left. His tackling's not so good on the left. We lose that long diagonal right-footed ball to the left wing, which he played a lot in the early part of the season. Which he played a lot last season. And then with Neumann coming in on the right, it really affected his game. I don't know why we signed a right-sided centre-half when we had Clara there and we hadn't got a good left-sided centre-half. I just don't understand what happened, and that's something that I think was wrong with the recruitment last season. Right until the last day of the season, we were looking for a left-sided centre-half, and then we signed Jack Robinson at the last minute, and Jack Robinson, I think, would have been a great signing, but he had that mare, didn't he, you know, of being sent off a couple of times and the Coventry game and all that, and then, you know, everything fell to pieces a little bit. He's just had a really unfortunate lot of things happen to him, Jack Robinson has. I actually like him as a player. I think he's really good. He puts himself around, you know, he's the first one in the battle. And oddly enough, you know, people saying, oh, you know, like he shoots his mouth off too much, he gets sent off. He's only ever been sent off once in his career, and that was with us. So I just think things have gone wrong for him. It was like Saturday, wasn't it? You know, when he put his hand on the ball. I mean, I was watching it, you know, and when he did it, I thought, is that a penalty? You know, fuck. I don't know if he just wasn't. I don't know. I just don't know if he wasn't watching or whatever. I don't know. But it doesn't go down well, does it? And then, of course, Chris Davison had to bring Panzo on for the second half because uh, Jack Robinson gets booked. He's off, and we don't want him being sent off again. So it'll be interesting to see what the starting centre halves are on Saturday. I think it'll be Robinson and Clara again. I hope it is. We need to get that back four established, and it's a good opportunity for us now for the next 8 games. Yeah, go out and try and win the games, obviously, and take games to opponents, and don't lose the idea that we have still got an outside chance of making the playoffs. But let's just look at probably, I don't know, settling the team down, concentrate on our own game a little bit. There's been an awful lot of pressure on the players this season. I do think, like the owners probably put a little bit on that pressure onto people by saying, that they wanted us to. He didn't like Tom Wagner didn't say he expects us to go up. Tom Wagner said, "Of course we'll be trying to, we try and go up. Of course, I mean that's what our objective is. It's the objective of every team in that league at on the first game of the season." But I think he put undue pressure on the club in a way on Chris Davis. But he knows. They all know that Chris Davis will be here next season. There's no way Tom Wagner's going to sack him after the season he had last season. He's done well. I think if you look at the 2 seasons, he's got like a 58% win record. I mean, that's absolutely outstanding for any manager. Lee Harvey saying did not understand why he did that. Caught lacking. I think you're talking about that he put his hand on the ball. Obviously, he didn't do it on purpose. He thought the ball had gone out. I think he got his back to Beadle, and he thought the ball had gone out for a goal kick. And then when he turned round, Beadle was rolling the ball with his foot towards the edge of the 6-yard box, and Jack Robinson ran back, and he's the one that takes the left-sided goal kicks. So he was preparing himself to take the left-sided goal kick and put his hand on the ball to place it on the edge of the 6-yard box. I mean, it was a really unfortunate accident, but it was just such a shame for him, really, because he hasn't had the best of luck with Blues, has he? But I do rate him. I think he's a really good left-sided centre half. He can play football, reads the game well. He's a strong tackler. He's got a good throw-in, and but I don't think he's going to be for us next season. Personally, I don't. Come end the season, let's pray Tom Wagner thinks 2 up front much better. It's not Lee. It's not up to Tom Wagner who picks the team. They won't be playing with 2 up front because it's Tom Wagner that put that whole thing in. That the whole 4-2-3-1. That was Tom Wagner. That's how he wants us to play. That's it, and that's Chris Davis's style. But what I think is, he could tweak it a little bit, like 4-1-4-1 or 4-diamond-1 or Christmas tree. We need players. We're not going to be playing that long ball. It ain't going to happen. You're not going to play with 2 up front because that means then the balls are going to be raining in from both sides, and Blues don't play that football. Lee saying he wasn't paying any attention. I meant, mate. Yeah, I don't think he was. I just didn't notice, Lee. But yeah, I've heard it said a few times that we could look at being a little bit more expansive by playing, instead of playing with 2 DMs, to play with 1. So you've back 4 and then probably Solis in front of them, and then another 4 with a striker, something like that. Or you could play the 4-diamond-1, so 4 with the one DM, that sort of pivot at the bottom of the diamond, then 2 wide players, and then the number 10 just behind the striker, a little bit the way we play now, but it's a little bit more ambitious by just having the 1 DM, which makes it a lot a less defensive setup, but then we have to get used to how we defend and make sure that we don't get caught out if we play that style. But I think the one up front is something that the way we play anyway. It's often like two up front because you have Ducks and Stansfield interchanging quite often. It's pretty fluid the way we play. It does me any when people say, that he never makes any changes. He doesn't, of course he makes changes. I think, and someone put something in the group earlier today when they said that, he has his favourite players and no one else plays. We've probably played, I would say, we've probably used more players this season than any other team in our league. That's what I would guess. And I haven't checked it, but I guess we have. So if he's got his favourite 11 players, they ain't played very often, have they? Lee saying, I don't get the lone striker. Love to ask Tom why he love that way of football. Well, there's two things there, Lee. Firstly, if you want to ask about the way Blues play, it's really Chris Davies you need to ask. But Tom Wagner did choose that, and he said on the very first open house why he chose that, and the reason is that the most successful teams in the world play that setup. The teams that score most goals in the world play that setup. The teams that earn most money in the world play that setup. Look at the top of the Premier League. Look, are there any like Wrexham kind teams there? No. Nobody plays five at the back, do they? Just look. You just have to look at the formations that the best teams in the world play, and it is usually 4-2-3-1. It's usually the formation. He hasn't. It isn't always. You can't play a formation like that, and it's not always going to be set in stone. It's going to be pretty fluid, but that is the. That's how we set up. But there are times in a game when you can change it a little bit, and we have gone five at the back a couple of times last season as games have closed out. But it really isn't our game, is it? We can't play with two wing backs. We've got two wing backs, Laird and Wagner, if you want to play them. But then what do we do with our four wingers? We've bought players to suit the way we play, not to suit the way that we're not going to play. It would be a stupid thing to do. It's not working for us, as the table's showing. This is Lee. I'm old school, love 4-4-2, tried and tested. Yeah, I know it is, Lee, but it doesn't work anymore. That's the thing. And I think the other thing is the table shows us, mate, that we're in 9th place. We could finish as high as 5th. There's 8 games left. We just got promoted. We're in the top half of the division. We're going to be in our best position if we finish 9th now that we've been in for 15 years or something. So the table is showing it, it is showing that it works. Of course it is. You can't think that any team that just plays a 4-2-3-1 is going to win the league, but they're going to be they're going to be a lot better. They're going to have more chance of success. Lee's saying there's no harm in trying. There isn't, but you would have to get a new manager, and then you would have to think about. You got to change the way we play. You then have to think about the players that we've signed. What about the 4 wingers we've just signed? What we're going to do with them? It just isn't. It's just a different setup, and people just. I don't think people sort of see this where. People say, well, why doesn't? And I've seen it quite a few times talking about the wing back system. Why doesn't Chris Davies just try wing backs? It's not the way he plays, It's not. It's not how Chris Davies sets up. It's like saying to Pep Guardiola, "Why don't you play with wing backs?" It would give you the exact same answer because it's prehistoric, something along those lines, So it doesn't have you buy a manager like you would buy a player. We're going to buy this centre forward because he's big, he's good in the air, he does that. We're going to buy this manager because he plays a 4-2-3-1. He's young, he's enthusiastic, he's brand new. I mean, our manager is too 2 seasons old. He's only ever had 2 seasons in as a football manager. It's like having a 17-year-old Trevor Francis coming into the team almost. He hasn't had quite as good a start as Trev did. But you know what I mean. You have to give these people a chance and give them time to develop. You don't get a young manager of Chris Davis's age coming into a team and going straight through and winning everything. It doesn't happen. Name me one that does it. No one. You know, and please don't say Phil Parkinson, because he is not a young manager. He plays dinosaur football, and someone's going to say, yeah, but look at Wrexham. We go, well, who would want to watch Wrexham every week? Who? I wouldn't. I would, you know, Blues played with 5 at the back and we wing backs, and Phil Parkinson was the manager. I would watch them and I would support them. But I would think, what on earth is happening at my club? Are we going back to non-league or something? You know, that would be my thought. And no, and please don't say, you know, well, they're doing better than us in the league. They are at the moment. The league isn't over yet, but it doesn't make any difference where they are in the league. If you don't like watching it, you don't like watching it, do you? Just like you probably don't like watching 4-2-3-1. It's no different. We all have our, you know, what we like and what we don't like. It's called choice. But yeah, I think that's like a fairly good, I don't know, was that a good one or not? Did we enjoy that? I did a lot of talking. Lee's done a lot of talking, like he usually does, and I think everyone sat back and listened to us, Lee. But so that's good, isn't it? Really. But it's been interesting, and we will be tomorrow. I'm going to do a little preview of the Derby game. Well, a little look at it, and then on Thursday we're going to do another little look at the squad. Harry's saying, all right, I don't seem to get the notification that you're starting. I'll have to catch up later. Anyhow, I honestly think CD will take us up. If not this year, still possibly not next. I think we'll go up next year. Watched Derby last night, bloody awful. And that's the thing though, Harry, innit? You know, I mean, we know what John Eustace play, you know, what his teams play like. And I've seen Derby won, and I thought, well done, John, you know, because you're like John Eustace. But it's absolutely right, you know. Who wants to watch Derby? They are fucking dire, aren't they? Bex, good afternoon, my darling. How are you? There's Bex, look. What a good girl, isn't she? I'll just get my blood pressure down, Bex, a little bit. Lee's been winding me up a bit. Dave Pegg, according to the transfer market stats that I'm looking at, we have used 32 players this season. The most is 39 by Sheffield Wednesday. Well, you know, the least is 26 by Swansea. As you have mentioned, Wrexham, they have used 29. All right, yeah. It's interesting stats. I can't see it. We've used 32. Yeah, so we've used more players probably than most teams. I think with Wrexham they had they had a big transfer window towards the end of the window. So their team has probably been more settled than ours. But anyway, it doesn't matter. You know, it's just interesting. It's statistics. And statistics are important because, you know, when people go, blah, 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 he had a good game, fact. It's not a fact. That's an opinion if you think someone had a good game. A fact is so-and-so had 75% of the possession. That's a fact because it's there, look, you know, it's an actual fact. Lee, what are we going to do, son? Anyway, thank you for joining us today. And hopefully we can all have another little chat tomorrow, probably. Tomorrow we'll either have a look at the Derby game or we'll leave that till Thursday. We'll have another look at the squad tomorrow. It is interesting. We're going to be on at 12, Harry, tomorrow. So, are we? Let me have a little think. tomorrow, Wednesday, 1. I'll put it on. I'll put it on in the morning. I always put it on every day, Harry. What time I'm going to be on? Ian Williams saying, "Well, I'm looking forward to Derby with JE and Sanderson. Be interesting." Yeah, that you know, John used to a little bit like Rowett in the, you know, like their defence first. And we don't play like that, you know. We do tend to stretch ourselves a bit. We see now we got caught out the other day, didn't we? You know, with the goal, with the Sheffield United goal from Bamford, the long ball, and split the centre halves, you know. But you never get caught like that with Eustace because there'd be 4 men behind the ball. Harry's saying, right, you effing chimney boys. By Saturday we'll be on 56. Wrexham will be on 63. Yeah, I'm not worrying too much about looking at the points, at who's above us and who's below us. Let's just play and see what happens, because that's the way to do it. I think it's quite good actually now, where everyone thinks we're probably not going to do it, and if we did anything or got anywhere near it, everyone would be happy. Probably not. When I say everyone, I mean, you know, there's always those people that don't, you know, never going to be happy no matter what happens. Although I do blame the club a little bit for like raising everyone's expectations, and me. You know, like I raised everyone's expectations. I was always going to win the league. What do I know? But yeah, thanks for joining me. You know, if you've got any comments, you know, then you can still add them to this conversation after we close. Harry's saying they've got 60 points at the moment. If we win against Derby, we'll have what, 57? Will we? Don't know, can't remember. Just like I'm sick of bloody hearing about it. When you say notifications, Harry, I always post it, or I usually post first thing in the morning, because then I know I know what my day's going to be like. Usually, Dave Pick is saying, was it 96 or what? I said 106 actually, Dave. So I was only like 50 points out. 106 points and 60 feet. I feel embarrassed to say it now. But that's glass half full, innit? That's being a Blues fan, that is. See, I was disappointed, and that's what being a Blues fan's all about. If they can't disappoint you, they're not doing the job, are they? We're Blues. We're not like the Villa bedwetters who expect to win everything they go into, and they ain't won nothing this century. Fucking hell, can you imagine that? Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to go and have a little lie down in a dark room for a bit. Ian saying if we get in the Premiership, there would be a percentage of fans expecting us to win it next season. I know. Well, I would. You see, one of the things that I really hate the idea of is getting to the Championship, because I know we're going to be fighting to stay up for the first few seasons, and I hate that. But you know what you're going to do? Not try to succeed, of course. You know, and that's where the money is, and that's what that's what Tom Wagner wants at the end of the day. He wants the money. That's why he's doing it. Lee's having another laugh. I like Lee's either laughing or moaning, isn't he? You can't help it. Right, I'm going to try and get away now. You know when you're talking and that next door neighbour and you go, oh, I've got to go now then. Oh, yeah, but did you hear about, you know, and you go, yeah, but I've got to get, I've got something in the oven. All right, guys, thank you very much. And I'm going to speak to you tomorrow. Don't forget, if you have a look at that little survey that Beck put in about our Sport England funding to get everyone fitter and healthier, then please fill that in. It will take you 2 minutes, and it really helps our bid to get this funding from Sport England. So thank you very much indeed. Love you all. Up the Blues. And listen, never give up your hope. All right, never give up. I mean, we'll never win nothing, but just never give up. See you guys.